Some women just aren't meant to be mothers. Beverly's voice drifted from the kitchen. Maybe it's time we stop pretending. I froze in the hallway, my hand gripping the doorframe to steady myself. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but the words sliced through me with surgical precision. "Mom, please," Michael responded, his voice low but tense. "We're trying our best. The doctors say there's no reason it shouldn't happen." 2 years, Michael. 2 years of these so-called treatments and nothing. I hate seeing you waste your life waiting for something that clearly isn't meant to be. I backed away silently, my heart hammering in my chest. The pill organizer I'd come to retrieve sat forgotten on the kitchen counter as I retreated to the guest bedroom. "My name is Geneva Wilson, 36 years old, a paralegal at Sandoval & Associates in Albuquerque. For 2 years, I've been taking fertility medication, following strict schedules and enduring monthly disappointments while trying to conceive with my husband Michael. Every negative test has been a tiny funeral for a hope that never materialized." Beverly, my mother-in-law, moved in with us temporarily after selling her house last year. She was supposed to stay until she found a new place, but months had passed with no sign of her looking. Instead, she'd inserted herself into every aspect of our lives, particularly our fertility journey. "I'm just trying to help," she'd insist, organizing my medications, reminding me about appointments, asking invasive questions about my cycle. I'd accepted her involvement, desperate for support and eager to prove myself worthy of her son. Michael and I had always planned to have children. We delayed it for years while I finished school and established my career, confident that when the time was right, nature would cooperate. When it didn't, we sought medical help. The doctors found nothing physically wrong with either of us, just one of those unexplained cases of infertility that would eventually resolve with medication and patience. I settled on the edge of the bed, Beverly's words echoing in my mind. Had she been saying these things to Michael all along? Did he secretly agree with her? As I sat there, I remembered something odd from that morning. While getting ready for work, I'd noticed my fertility pills looked different, slightly larger, with a faintly different sheen. I dismissed it as a generic brand substitution by the pharmacy. Now, a cold suspicion formed in my stomach. I pulled out my phone and searched for images of my medication, comparing them to the mental picture of what I'd taken that morning. They didn't match. With trembling hands, I checked the reminder app on my phone. My prescription should have been refilled 3 weeks ago, but I had no memory of picking it up. Beverly had offered to handle it for me, saying she was happy to help with anything that might bring a grandchild. A terrible possibility began taking shape in my mind. Michael and I met at a courthouse. He was covering a case for the local newspaper, and I was filing documents for my firm. He asked for my help navigating the clerk's office, and I gave him more than directions. I gave him my number. 6 months later, we were engaged. A year after that, married in a small ceremony at his parents' house. Beverly had seemed supportive initially. She welcomed me with elaborate dinners and thoughtful gifts. But there were always undercurrents. Comments about Michael's ex-girlfriend who became a doctor, questions about when I planned to move beyond paralegal work, subtle reminders that the Wilson family had certain expectations. When we announced our plans to start a family, Beverly's interest intensified. She sent articles about maternal age and fertility concerns. She reminisced about how she'd conceived Michael without even trying, at 23. She began showing up at our house unannounced, often during the times we might have been trying to conceive. Despite these tensions, I never considered her an enemy. I viewed her as a woman who loved her son fiercely, perhaps too fiercely. I believed that once I became pregnant, she would transfer that intensity to her grandchild. I wanted to make our relationship work. When Beverly sold her house and needed somewhere to stay, I was the one who suggested she move in with us. Michael had hesitated, but I insisted. It was an opportunity to strengthen our bond, to show her I wasn't the career-obsessed daughter-in-law she feared. Her presence changed the dynamic of our home immediately. She cooked elaborate meals that ignored my dietary preferences. She rearranged furniture and decorations without asking. She established routines that centered around her comfort. Most significantly, she began managing my fertility treatments. It started innocently, offering to pick up prescriptions when she was out, setting up a pill organizer in the kitchen where she could remind me to take them. I felt grateful. I thought it meant she accepted me. Looking back, there were warning signs. Times when I was certain I'd had more pills in the bottle than I should, or when they seemed slightly altered in color or shape. I blamed lighting, my imagination. There was a peculiar satisfaction in Beverly's expression when my period arrived each month. But nothing concrete, nothing that couldn't be explained away. Then there were the coincidences. Whenever Beverly visited her sister for the weekend, I'd feel different, more energetic, the hormonal shifts I was supposed to experience. When she returned, those sensations would vanish. I dismissed the pattern as stress. But now, I wasn't so sure. That evening, I retrieved the pill organizer from the kitchen counter while Beverly was watching her shows. In the bathroom, I examined the contents carefully. At first glance, the pills looked similar to my prescription. White, round, approximately the same size, but the differences became clear. They had no manufacturer's imprint, their edges were smoother. They dissolved quickly when I dropped one in water. These weren't my fertility medications. They looked like simple sugar pills. I flushed them, my hands shaking with rage and disbelief. Could Beverly really have been sabotaging my treatments? For how long, and why? The questions swirled in my mind as I heard Michael arrive home. I composed myself, determined not to confront anyone until I had proof. I needed to be strategic, to understand the full scope of Beverly's interference before taking action. That night, at dinner, I watched her carefully as she inquired about my next doctor's appointment. "I can drive you," she offered, serving Michael a generous portion of roast chicken while giving me a smaller one. "You shouldn't have to worry about parking downtown." "That's kind, but I'll manage," I replied neutrally. "My office is just a few blocks away." Still, it must be so stressful, going to these appointments month after month with no results. Her tone was sympathetic, but her eyes gleamed. "Have they suggested alternatives yet?" "Alternatives?" I echoed. "Well, adoption, or surrogacy, with a younger egg donor." She patted Michael's hand. "There are many ways to have a family these days." Michael looked uncomfortable, but stayed silent. His passivity felt like another betrayal. "The doctors are still optimistic," I said. "Sometimes these treatments take time." 2 years is more than time, dear." Beverly's smile was sharp. It was a message. That night, I couldn't sleep. While Michael snored beside me, I slipped out of bed and searched the bathroom. Behind Beverly's guest toiletries, in the back of a drawer, I found a prescription bottle with my name on it. My actual fertility medication. The label said it had been filled 3 weeks ago. But the bottle was nearly full. She'd been intercepting my prescriptions and replacing them with sugar pills, all while pretending to help. The evidence shook me to my core. I returned the bottle exactly as I'd found it, and crept back into bed. My mind raced. For 2 years I had blamed myself for our failure to conceive. I had endured invasive procedures, mood swings, hormonal weight gain, and monthly heartbreak, all while the solution was being deliberately withheld by someone I trusted. I lay awake until dawn, calculating, planning. I wouldn't confront Beverly immediately. I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to know if Michael was complicit or just oblivious. Most importantly, I needed to secure access to my real medication without tipping my hand. The game had changed, and Beverly had no idea I was now playing. The next morning, I called my doctor's office from work and requested an immediate appointment, citing concerns about my medication. I kept the explanation vague, just enough to secure a same-day slot. During my lunch break, Dr. Patel greeted me with her usual warmth and efficiency. "Geneva, this is unexpected. Is everything all right?" I closed her office door and took a deep breath. "I need to know, is it possible someone's been replacing my fertility meds with sugar pills?" Her expression shifted, surprise, then concern. "That's a serious allegation. What makes you think this?" I showed her the pill organizer photos compared to reference images. Dr. Patel frowned. "These do appear different. I can't confirm they're sugar pills without testing, but they're definitely not what I prescribed." She asked who had access to my meds. I hesitated, but told her the truth. "Beverly." Dr. Patel looked deeply troubled. "Geneva, medication tampering is illegal. It's a form of assault. If your mother-in-law is doing this, you should consider involving the authorities." The idea overwhelmed me. "I need more proof first," I said quietly, "and I need to find out if my husband knows." She issued a new prescription, this time with instructions to the pharmacy. Only I could pick it up. "Keep this medication secure," she advised, "and consider speaking to a therapist. This is a profound breach of trust." I left her office, the prescription clutched tightly in my hand. I felt both vindicated and devastated. My suspicions weren't paranoia, they were real. But now I had a new problem. What do I do with that truth? Should I tell Michael? Go to the police? Confront Beverly? I didn't have the answers. I filled the prescription at a different pharmacy, storing it safely at work. That night at home, I took Beverly's sugar pills, pretending everything was normal. She watched me with that same satisfied little smile. For 2 weeks, I kept up the act, taking the real meds at work and documenting everything. Photographs, dates, Beverly's comments, the hidden bottle I found. I backed up everything, creating a secure digital trail that couldn't be erased. But what I didn't do was trust Michael. His silence during Beverly's constant jabs made me unsure. Did he know? Was he part of this? That question was answered 3 weeks later. I overheard them arguing in his home office. "Mom, this has gone on long enough," Michael said, his voice firmer than I'd heard in months. "I spoke with the doctor today. Geneva's following the plan perfectly. There's no reason it shouldn't be working." My heart fluttered. He was defending me. But Beverly countered, smooth and poisonous. "Unless the problem isn't the treatment. Maybe she doesn't want children." "What?" Michael snapped. "Think about it," she said. "She works late. She's always on her phone. Career women say they want families, but delay it indefinitely. That's ridiculous." "Is it?" she said softly. "I found this in her purse. Yesterday." A pause. Michael's voice shocked. "A birth control pill packet? Are you sure? Check the prescription name if you don't believe me." My blood went cold. She'd planted false evidence. And worse, Michael sounded like he might believe her. After everything we'd been through, all the heartbreak, one lie was all it took to make him doubt me. That night, Michael came into our room, his expression a cocktail of hurt and suspicion. "Is there something you want to tell me?" He held up the birth control pack, with my name on it. I stared at it, speechless. It looked authentic, a label from our regular pharmacy. Beverly must have gone to extraordinary lengths to forge it. "That's not mine," I said finally. "I've never seen that before." "It has your name on it. Mom found it in your purse." "And you believe her?" My voice rose. "Your mother goes through my personal things, produces something I've never seen before, and you take her word over mine?" He faltered. "I don't know what to believe anymore. 2 years of treatments, no results. The doctors say there's no medical reason." "So you think I've been sabotaging this? Why? Why would I go through all those appointments, the injections, the side effects, the constant disappointment?" "I don't know," he exclaimed. "Maybe you changed your mind. Maybe you're afraid of what having a baby would do to your career. People change, Geneva." The irony was unbearable. While I'd been uncovering Beverly's betrayal, she had been setting up a counter-narrative, one that painted me as the deceiver. And Michael, the man who had vowed to stand by me, was ready to believe her. "Michael, look at me," I said, my voice shaking. I have never ever taken birth control behind your back. I want a child. Our child, more than anything." He stared at me, uncertain. "Then how do you explain this?" he asked, gesturing with the packet. I made a decision, right then. I wouldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. If he ran to Beverly with the accusation, she might destroy the evidence I'd gathered. "I can't explain it," I said. "But I swear to you, it's not mine. Someone is trying to come between us." Michael ran his hands through his hair, stressed. "This is crazy. Why would anyone do that?" "Think about it," I said. "Who benefits if we start doubting each other? Who's been living in our home, inside our most private struggles?" His face hardened. "Don't bring my mother into this. She's been nothing but supportive." "Has she?" I asked quietly. "Or has she been undermining me from the moment we got married, making comments about my age, my career, your exes?" "She's old-fashioned. She just wants what's best for me. And she doesn't think that's me," I said softly. He shook his head. "You're being paranoid. Mom would never." A knock at the door cut him off. It was Beverly. "I couldn't help overhearing," she said innocently. "I'm so sorry this is happening, but perhaps it's for the best. At least everything's out in the open now." Her performance was flawless. Calculated innocence, carefully crafted concern. It made my skin crawl. "Nothing is out in the open," I said. "You planted that pill packet." Her eyes widened, feigning shock. "Why would I do such a thing?" She turned to Michael. "Can you believe what she's accusing me of?" Michael looked between us, visibly torn. And in that moment, I saw it, the true depth of her manipulation. She had been working on him for months, maybe years, planting seeds of doubt. Michael finally spoke. "I think we all need some space. Geneva, maybe you should stay with a friend for a few days, until we figure this out." The betrayal was complete. Beverly had turned my husband against me. She had made me the outsider, in my own marriage. I packed an overnight bag with shaking hands. I understood now, this wasn't just about having a baby anymore. This was war. I checked into a hotel that night, my mind racing. The next morning, I called in sick and returned to my gynecologist. I requested a full workup, including a blood test to prove I wasn't on birth control. Dr. Patel understood the urgency and expedited the results. "Geneva," she asked gently as the nurse drew my blood, "have you considered that your husband might be involved?" I had considered it, but I couldn't bring myself to believe that Michael would actively collude with his mother. "I think he's being manipulated," I said. "She's always had a powerful influence over him." "Even so," Dr. Patel said, "his willingness to believe these accusations without evidence, it's concerning." She was right. Michael's readiness to doubt me, so quickly, showed just how fragile our foundation really was. But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. Not until I understood exactly what had been happening in my home. 2 days later, the blood test came back. No trace of birth control. Armed with that medical evidence, I knew what I had to do next. I needed to retrieve the real fertility medication I'd found in Beverly's drawer. If I could present both the blood test results and the hidden pills to Michael, maybe he would finally see the truth. I waited until he was at work and used my key to quietly enter the house. Beverly's car wasn't in the driveway. I took it as a lucky sign. I moved quickly to the guest bathroom, the same drawer where I had once found the pills. But it was empty. I searched the entire bathroom, nothing. Beverly had moved the evidence. I expanded the search to her bedroom, carefully opening drawers, scanning closets, putting everything back exactly as I found it. Still nothing. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed the drawer on her bedside table was slightly ajar. Inside was a journal. Beverly's handwriting, clearly visible on the pages. I hesitated. I knew I was crossing the line reading someone's personal journal, but she had crossed lines far worse. I flipped through, and what I read confirmed everything. She had been systematically replacing my medication shortly after she moved in. She believed I wasn't right for her son. She was determined to prevent me from trapping him with a child. Worse, she'd started suggesting to Michael that we consider divorce, all while portraying herself as the supportive, loving mother who just wanted his happiness. I took photos of the most important entries, careful to return the journal exactly as I found it. As I was closing the drawer, I heard the front door open. "Hello? Is someone here?" It was Beverly. I froze. Frantically, I scanned the room for a hiding place. The closet was too obvious. Under the bed, too exposed. The ensuite bathroom, it was the only option. I slipped inside, just as her footsteps entered the bedroom. Through the crack in the door, I watched her check the drawer I'd just touched. She opened the journal and examined it, studying it carefully as if checking whether it had been disturbed. Apparently satisfied, she locked the journal in the drawer and removed the key, placing it on a chain around her neck. Then she picked up her phone and dialed. "Michael, it's Mom. You'll never believe what I just found in Geneva's things. Printouts of sperm donor profiles. I think she was planning to get pregnant without telling you it wasn't your child." My heart pounded so loudly, I was certain she'd hear it. Another fabrication. Another attempt to poison Michael against me. But in that lie, she gave me an opportunity. She was leaving the house again to go to Michael's office and show him her evidence. The moment the front door closed, I emerged from the bathroom. My mind was racing. Beverly had just revealed her entire playbook, and now I knew exactly how to counter it. 3 weeks later, Beverly called a family meeting at our house. Michael had returned home after a week, apologetic, confused. The blood test results had forced him to question Beverly's story, but he still wasn't sure whom to trust. We existed in an uneasy truce, sleeping in separate rooms, barely speaking. Beverly, sensing her influence slipping, escalated her campaign. She invited Michael's siblings, their spouses, and a few family friends to what she described as an intervention. She intended to publicly humiliate me. She was going to announce to everyone that I was barren, and that Michael should leave me while he still had a chance at fatherhood. But what she didn't know was that I'd been taking my real fertility meds for over a month now, and I had received news that would dismantle her scheme. The living room was tense as guests arrived, whispers, glances, awkward silence. Beverly had orchestrated the seating like a stage, herself at the center, Michael beside her, and me off to the side, isolated. She stood, her voice grave. "Thank you all for coming. I've asked you here because I'm deeply concerned about Michael and Geneva's situation. After years of trying, it's become clear that Geneva cannot provide the family Michael has always wanted." A murmur rippled through the room. "Some women," she said, her tone dripping with pity, "just aren't meant to be mothers. I believe it's time we acknowledge this painful truth. Michael deserves a chance at fatherhood before it's too late." All eyes turned to me. Beverly's expression was triumphant. She thought she had orchestrated my complete humiliation. I smiled calmly, reached into my purse, and retrieved an envelope. "Oh, right, I almost forgot," I said, placing the envelope on the coffee table. "I have some news to share with everyone." Beverly's face went pale. I opened the envelope and pulled out the ultrasound image, passing it to Michael first. His eyes widened. He looked from the photo to me, his mouth opening in disbelief. Are you?" he stammered. 10 weeks pregnant," I confirmed, my voice steady despite the storm of emotion in my chest. "Dr. Patel confirmed it last week. We're having a baby, Michael." The room erupted, not with applause, but with confused congratulations, awkward clapping, disbelief. The ultrasound made its way around the room. When it reached Beverly, she snatched it, studying it like it might be fake. "This is impossible," she hissed. "You can't be pregnant." "Actually, I can," I replied calmly. "Once I started taking the real medication, instead of the sugar pills you were substituting, conception happened rather quickly." A shocked silence fell. Beverly's face twisted in panic. "What are you talking about? That's absurd." "Is it?" I turned to the room, addressing everyone, loud and clear. Beverly's been replacing my fertility medication with sugar pills for nearly 2 years. She hid my real prescriptions, created false evidence to make Michael doubt me, and deliberately sabotaged our attempts to start a family. I pulled out my phone and displayed the photos, journal entries in Beverly's handwriting, spelling it all out. I handed the phone to Michael first. His eyes moved across the screen. His expression shifted from confusion to horror. "Mom," he whispered. "Is this true?" Beverly jumped up, knocking over a glass in her haste. "This is all a fabrication," she shouted. "She's trying to turn you against me. She's always been jealous of our relationship." But no one was listening to her anymore. The proof was there, in her own words. One by one, Michael's siblings and their spouses rose and quietly left the room, their congratulations to us now tinged with coldness toward her. As the last guest departed, Beverly stood alone, isolated, surrounded by the ruins of her carefully constructed scheme. "You should pack your things," Michael said, his voice low. "I think it's time you found your own place to live." I rested my hand over my stomach, protective, emotional. For the first time in years, the future I dreamed of was within reach. 6 months later, our home was transformed. Beverly had moved to a senior living community across town. Michael refused to reconcile with her until she agreed to attend therapy. So far, she hadn't. The spare bedroom that had once been hers was now a nursery, the walls painted a soothing sage green, filled with books, toys, and gifts from friends and family who had rallied around us once the truth came out. Michael and I had gone to counseling together. We worked to rebuild what had been broken. It wasn't easy. We had difficult conversations about how quickly he had doubted me, about his relationship with his mother, about the boundaries we would need to maintain moving forward. Each session helped us rebuild a foundation, not just for ourselves, but for the family we were about to become. Dr. Patel continued to monitor my pregnancy closely, given everything we'd been through. "Everything looks perfect," she told me during our most recent checkup. "After all you've endured, you deserve this happiness, Geneva." I had stayed at my job at the law firm, though I planned to take a generous maternity leave once the baby arrived. My experience had inspired me to help create a new policy at work: support for employees undergoing fertility treatment, flexible scheduling, confidential resources, real support, something I hadn't had before. But the most profound change was internal. The woman who had once endured Beverly's control in silence, who blamed herself for not getting pregnant, who accepted subtle jabs as part of being a daughter-in-law. She was gone. She had been replaced by someone stronger, someone who had gathered evidence, planned strategically, fought back against someone who tried to break her. As I sat in the nursery, resting a hand over my belly, I felt our daughter kick. Strong, insistent. It was as if she were saying, "I'm ready, Mom." And I smiled. Some lessons come at a high price. And Beverly? She paid it in full.